Storytel Original presents 42 Kilos of Love by Felicia Welander, narrated by Sofia Engstrand. Part 1. Isak and Toby. Isak stood in front of the mirror and shaved one side of his head, then the other. He shaved close, very close, so all that was left of his thick, dark hair was a thin layer of stubble. However, he did leave it a bit longer on the top than on the sides. He tapped the clipper against the rim of the porcelain sink. Then he rinsed the black tufts down the drain before wiping the sink clean with the damp cloth. He sprayed window cleaner on the mirror until even the slightest speck of toothpaste was gone, and wiped it dry with paper towels until it glistened. Then he looked around and nodded contentedly. The room smelled of soap and deodorant. Everything was in its place, just as it should be. He applied some gel to the front ends of his hair and looked in the mirror again. He ran a finger across his eyebrows and tried to hold his own gaze long enough for the voices to fall silent. You ugly bastard. Monkey. Retard. Disgusting creep. Big-nosed freak. He forced himself to stare at his reflection until the voices faded. He wasn't going to let them win. Not today. Not ever. Isak glanced at his phone screen. It was blank, save for the digital clock. It was just after 6 in the morning. He turned to hang up the terry cloth towel he'd slung over his shoulders, but instead slammed his knee into the washing machine. He swallowed the bile that bubbled up and looked at himself in the mirror once again. Breathe, the doctor had said. The important thing when you feel the panic coming on is that you breathe, deeply, with your whole body. He closed his eyes, took a few deep breaths, and felt the pain in his knee slowly subside. Opening his eyes again, he headed to the hall. Immediately, he felt a sense of calmness spread through his stomach as he spotted the black and white border collie sitting there with his head cocked and his eyes fixed affectionately on his master. It was those eyes which had allowed him to fall in love with Toby in the first place. The other puppies in the litter all had brown eyes, but not Toby. No, he had one of each, one brown and one blue, and his face was half white and half black, just like the dog Isak had seen in a comic book once. But that wasn't the only reason Isak chose Toby that summer day nearly 3 years ago. No, it was the moment, the very instant, Toby first darted up to him. Back then he darted. These days he more or less slithers across the ground. He'd left his 4-legged friends, skipped across the floor, jumped into Isak's arms and kissed him right on his wretched nose. From that moment on, Isak was hooked. There was no turning back. What had originally been just a funny notion, an idea he didn't know he could implement safely, a kind of survival strategy, became reality. A few weeks later, Isak went back to the kennel in Åkersberga to pick up his very own dog. Isak could never have imagined how much this little creature would turn his life upside down. In just a few days, he had compelled Isak to completely rearrange the furniture and his routine. He could no longer sit up all night playing LAN games and then sleep through the morning. Toby always woke at 6 o'clock sharp and demanded to go out. If Isak was a little too slow or simply fell asleep again, Toby would make a point of going into the hall to pee on the carpet. So, it was just a matter of Isak getting up as soon as the alarm went off. Then the days of wild play began. Although Toby would occasionally collapse into a cuddly little heap and toss and turn, Isak didn't dare close his eyes in case the dog woke up and needed him. Instead, he would sit on the floor beside the puppy and read one of his thick non-fiction books about insects, frogs, leopards, or other animals, until Toby stretched, yawned, and started playing.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?